Well, here I am. Good evening, everyone. If you come on tonight, I would appreciate it if you make comments if you want to. That would be very good. I am going to present Canto 6 of Dante's Divina Commedia. So welcome to TomPadulaTV and to another interesting evening for me, because Dante is a challenge. Believe it or not, Dante's Divine Comedy has many parts, and therefore can only do. It's not a thorough study of each canto, but this is Canto 6 of the Inferno, and basically the canto is all about. We'll find out. I will also try to introduce some Italian literary figures like poets, poetry, and of course my songs and poems from my Amica Poesia, and a bit of the sketches, a bit of theatre. So that's basically the program for this evening. I hope you enjoy it, because Dante is. A lot of people know only the first few lines of this great work. It is actually a work based on Dante's reality at the time when he wrote it, around the year 1300. So that's 700 years ago. It's quite a feat to remain relevant for 700 years. So he was regarded as the father of the Italian language, because not only did he write in Latin, but he also believed there should be la lingua volgare, the language of the people, and he did a good job, really, because he began by writing 100 cantos, 140 lines each. There's a lot of language there, and then he also wrote other works, and you can look him up on Google, Chrome, whatever, online now you can get everything. But really, the reason why I'm doing this is because we talk about a lot of things, but in the end, going deeper into certain aspects of literature, or educating ourselves about what matters to us. So on Sundays, I began with Dante, and then from there I also have gone on Thursday night now with history, world history, and all this gives me a lot of inspiration. And you do realise that I am a teacher of Italian, French, and history, qualified here in Melbourne at Melbourne University. So, and then I've taught in the state education system, in the high schools, also evening schools. I've done a few things in my lifetime, and I thought, Tom, it's time perhaps to give back to people who want to learn Italian the opportunity to learn Italian. And you'll be doing that. I'll be doing something during the day. I'm thinking along those lines, during the day, to teach Italian during the day from Insegna booksellers, so that people can get it free of charge. I'll explain it to you, what to do, how to do it. Just watch me. And then I'll also go into French, some Spanish. We'll see what happens as we go along. So the inspiration is here. The willingness is here. All we need is good health and fortuna. You need virtù. Machiavelli said, you need virtù, that's what you can do. And then you need fortuna, you need life and lady luck. So that's important. So one more minute, and then I will start on Canto 6. And welcome to Angela there, it's watching, and Stavros as well. It's fantastic. So I don't mention names because I have to concentrate on the work, but I do appreciate all those people who come on a Sunday directly, and also afterwards. You can watch this afterwards, during the week in my Facebook page. Just go down the page to the relevant line, and as you can see, on Sunday I have the cravatta, and on the Thursdays I got the hat. But it's 7:30 now, and let's start. Canto 6 of Dante's Inferno. Now, this particular canto, if you remember, in Canto 5, after speaking to Paolo and Francesca, Dante was really moved and cadde, he fainted. But anyway, il cammino venne ripreso, e i due arrivarono al terzo cerchio dell'inferno. So Virgilio and Dante kept on walking, and they arrived on the third circle of hell. Remember the cone, the ice cream cone? Further down you go, the worse are the sins. This one here, the third canto, is about gluttony. Gluttony, I peccati della gola. The people who eat too much, who are really into food, in a big way. So here I go, qui cadeva, so what happened here? Qui cadeva fra mista neve una pioggia monotona e fredda, scendeva sudicia dal cielo nerastro e il terreno era un immenso pantano puzzolente. So gluttony, and when we talk about pigs, in a pigsty, well, that's what this cerchio, terzo cerchio dell'inferno is. It's a huge pigsty. And there is a dog there with 3 heads that takes great pleasure in tormenting, scratching, tormenting, and and also ripping them apart, the souls that have been punished for the sin of gluttony. Interesting, isn't it? A custodire questo girone v'era un mostro orrendo, Cerberus, il feroce cane dalle 3 teste. So, the ferocious dog with 3 heads. Latrava, he took great pleasure in tormenting and ripping apart all these souls. But on seeing Virgilio and Dante had a physical body, don't forget, in hell. On seeing, he wanted to go towards Dante, and what did Virgil do? He picked up some of the earth and threw it at it, because the sin of gluttony is about somebody who eats with real intent, and it doesn't matter what it is. He's just a glutton. It's a terrible sin, really, but we do. That's part of our life too. When we got too much into food and drink, and the good life in a very mischievous way. Because life should be balanced, and when you're not in anything, this is what happens. So Virgilio saves Dante, and of course they move on. Cerberus is the dog with 3 heads. He's got, what does he have? He has il Cerbero, il cane dalle 3 teste, guardiano dell'aldilà, secondo la tradizione della mitologia greca. So he is the guardian of the afterlife. La sua golosità, his gluttony, è la sua rovina in vari miti. It's his ruin in various mythology. In the Aeneid, di Virgilio viene drogato, di Cerberus viene drogato dalla Sibilla con focacce al miele. Beautiful, focacce al miele. Mescolato ad erbe saporifero per permettere a Aenea di entrare nell'aldilà. So if you feed the goloso, then you can go past them. And this is what Cerberus, and so Dante, the poet Dante, turns this Cerberus into a devil, one of the great devils of, of hell. And the other ones, I'm just you know, I need some notes sometimes because otherwise I forget exactly who they are. But if you remember, we had Caronte in the, you know, in Fiume Caronte when the souls come into hell. Then we met Minosse in the last chapter, Minosse, and he was the judge. You know, he got the souls and threw them into the various circles. And now we meet Cerberus, this dog with 3 heads. So notice these characters here, they are sort of appear in modern films. These characters, and also the descriptions of them is taken over by the directors and producers of films. I'm not saying that everything comes from Dante. It comes from Greek mythology. It comes from English, you know, Shakespeare. You got a lot of this, Homer, Virgilio, the Romans. These are works, great works of the past that have helped literature along. So, enough of the introduction. Let me start reading it. Maybe I'll have a little bit of a drink before I start. It's much easier now to read this. Al tornar della mente che si chiuse dinanzi alla pietà di 2 cognati, che di trestizia tutto mi confuse, nuovi tormenti e nuovi tormentati mi veggio intorno, come ch'io mi muova e ch'io mi voghe, come io guati. So after he fainted and after he was upset by the 2 lovers, you know, well-deserved punishment according to him, but well, he wasn't quite well. There again, a bit of study would go a long way here. So, nuovi tormenti e nuovi tormentati. So he meets new souls now in a new type of sin. Io sono al terzo cerchio. So, he, you know, he tells us that he's in the 3rd circle of hell. Della piova eterna, of eternal rain, maladetta, fredda e greve, regola e qualità mai non le nova. So it's continuous pouncing of this rain, of this putrid, it becomes putrid once it hits the ground. Grandine grossa, acqua, tinta e neve, per l'aere tenebroso si riversa. Pute la terra che questo riceve. Don't forget this is in the dark as well. You know, as you go further down in hell, it becomes darker and very dark. Cerbero, fiera crudele e diversa, con 3 gole, caninamente latra sovra la gente che quivi è sommersa. So this dog with 3 heads, tormenting the souls. Gli occhi a vermigli, vermiglio is red, no? La barba unta, fat, e atra, e il ventre largo, e unghiate le mani, graffia gli spiriti, e di scoia e di squatra. So he torments them and he rips them apart. Urlar li fa la pioggia come cani, and everyone goes, ah, gets into it. Dell'unde lati fanno all'altro schermo, volgonsi spesso i miseri profani. So they turn around often because they can't take this pain. Quando ci scorse Cerbero, il gran vermo, le bocche aperse e mostrocci le sanne. He showed us his... Yeah. Volgonsi spesso. So, non aveva membro che tenesse fermo. So he was moving all around all the time, and his nails, and he was ready to attack us. E il duca, Virgilio, no? Mio, il duca mio, belongs to him, to Dante. Distese le sue spanne, prese la terra e con piene le pugna la gittò dentro alle bramose canne. So there are 3 heads. He gets the earth and he throws it at them. Here, have it. So he knows the trick. Virgilio knows the trick. Don't forget, he's the maestro. He has to know. Qual è quel cane che abbaiando agogna e si racqueta poi che il pasto morde, che solo a divorarlo intende e pugna? So the dog, if you notice dogs, when you give them food, don't go next to a dog when they are eating because they'll attack you, because they concentrate very heavily on the food. They can't remove, and that's what happened to Cerberus, and that's what happened there. So, cotai si fecero quelle facce lorde dello demonio Cerbero che introna l'anime sì ch'esser vorrebber sorde. So he continued, well, in this case here, when he actually attacks the souls as well, he sort of concentrates on them, but the sound doesn't come from him this time, it comes from the souls that are being punished. Noi passavam su per l'ombre che adona la greve pioggia e ponavam le piante sovra lor vanità che par persona. Elle giacevano per terra tutte quante, fuor d'una che a sedersi levò, ratto che ella ci vide passarsi davanti. So all these souls were on the ground in the pigsty. You know, they weren't on their feet, they were flat and they would turn around. What a sight. But one of them got up and he says, O tu che sei per questo inferno tratto, or you come past this inferno, mi disse, riconoscimi se sai, tu fosti prima che io disfatto fatto. So, do you know me from where you come from? You know, before I was disfatto, before I died, practically. E io a lui, l'angoscia che tu hai, forse ti tira fuori della mia mente, sì che non par chi ti vedessi mai. So he says, and this is what happens with gluttony, your face changes and says, maybe, you know, I don't recognize you. He was being very diplomatic, Dante. But then he proceeded, ma dimmi, chi tu sei e che in sì dolente loco sei messo e hai sì fatta pena che s'altro è maggio nulla è sì spiacente. So, why are you here? You know, who are you and why here? Why did you come to this particular part of hell? I want to know. Ed egli a me, and he replies, la tua città che è piena di invidia, sì che già trabocca il sacco, seco mi tenne in la vita serena. Voi cittadini mi chiamaste ciacco, per la dannosa colpa della gola, come tu vedi alla pioggia mi fiacco. Now, ciacco. Ciacco used to love to do a few things. He used to eat and drink a lot. And Ciacco in Tuscany at the time, in Fiorentina, in Firenze, Ciacco also means uguale porco. He was a pig, but that's just a name. So there's a controversy because a lot of people have studied Dante. And, you know, TomPadula is only one of the very humble ones here because I'm trying to just present it and just read it and learn about each canto each week. That's my opportunity. Because when you are trying to teach somebody else, you have to get ready. So, in other words, that spurs me to do a bit of research, which is good. It's not a bad idea. And I encourage you to do the same. Because if you go into the Florence of the 13th century, you will find there was a lot of conflict there during those times. So, the history part comes into it because this is a work by a poet. When I write poetry, it's about what I feel, what I live. So I've got my Le Avventure di Curiosine, the adventures of my little fish in the sea, and this is in Dante doing the same. You know, most poets, or most people write, and you can do that too with your own life story, your own imagination. There's a lot you can do. Just enjoy yourself. Doesn't matter about the grammar and all that. forget it. It's okay, that can come later. You can, tune into my Italian lessons. They are coming. Ok. Ma dimmi che... voi cittadini mi chiamaste Ciacco per la dannosa colpa della gola, come tu vedi alla pioggia mi fiacco. So I have to suffer the eternal rain and these conditions here. E io, anima trista, non son sola, I'm not the only one, che tutte queste a simil pena stanno per simil colpa. So all these people here, they committed the same sin as me. E più non fe parole, and he didn't say anymore. Io gli risposi, that's Dante, I replied, Ciacco, so, familiar terms now, il tuo affanno mi pesa, sì, che a lagrimar mi invita, ma dimmi, so, I feel for you, ma dimmi, se tu sai, a che verranno i cittadini della città partita? Se alcun v'è giusto, e dimmi la cagione perché la tanta discordia assalita. So, tell me something, lacrima in vittima, dimmi che avverranno i cittadini della città partita. Se alcun è giusto, dimmi la cagione perché la tanta discordia assalita. Why was there so much discord in this city? E a quelli a me, dopo, in his time, dopo lunga tensione verranno al sangue, alla parte selvaggia caccerà l'altra con molta offensione. Poi appresso conviene che questo caggia infra 3 soli e che l'altra sormonti con la forza di tal che teste piaggia. Alte terrà lungo tempo le fronti, tenendo l'altro sotto gravi pesi, come che di ciò pianga o che naonti. Giusti son 2 e non vi sono intesi, superbia, invidia e avarizia sono le 3 faville che hanno i cuori accesi. So, Ciacco, il tuo affanno mi pesa, and here Dante talks about the city. There are 3 basic sins that Florence commits at that time for the great discord that there is in the city, because there were the Guelphs and the Ghibellines. And you have to go into the history part. And then I think the Guelph won, they were part of the Pope, and they divided in 2, so, politics, it's always the politics. But what is the cause of this discord? What is the cause? Well, there are le 3 faville, the 3 flames. They are, which ones are they? I cuori accesi, le 3 faville, superbia, invidia e avarizia. So, the sin of pride, the sin of envy, and the sin of greed. Those are the 3 elements that existed in Florence and in today's world. If you think about it, pride, I am the best. Invidia, oh God, that person's got more than me. How did they do it? And avarizia, greed, oh, if I could only have more and more of these things. So these are this is what happened. So he was asking, between Ciacco and him. Ciacco is very interested in wanting to know about Florence. Obviously, he had such a good time. What did they say? Somebody says this about him. Cosa scondono costoro chiese impressionate Dante? I'll read you something. I peccati di gola, rispose Virgilio, in vita hanno mangiato come porci e ora sono condannati a restare eternamente immersi come porci nella melma. Uno di questi disgraziati levò la faccia inzaccherata. Tu dovresti ricordarti di me, disse, guardami, la tua angoscia ti deforma il volto, mormorò Dante. Ero della tua città, Firenze, città di invidiosi che molto avrà da patire. Ciacco mi chiamavano rammenti? Ciacco, esclamò Dante. Si ricordava quel ghiottone celebre in tutta Firenze per i suoi pranzi? Com'era ridotto, mamma mia. Ci sono altri fiorentini qui, chiese. Oh sì, ce ne sono molti più sotto. Se torni sulla terra, riprese Ciacco. Parla di me ai miei amici, ma ora basta. Più non ti parlo e più non ti rispondo. So he says, there are a lot more Florentines in here, but I committed the sin of gluttony. But those people there, apart from gluttony, they committed other sins as well, like sodomy and, you know, what they used to do. They're very naughty people, you know, when they're rich and they want to be naughty, they've got the means to do it, so they do it. Now we have drugs, you name it. I mean, you know, I watched a couple of films lately, Elton John and Queen, and oh my God, these people here, what sort of a life, especially in the early days, And, well, anyway, let's go back to Dante. Now, giusti sono due e non vi sono intesi, superbia, invidia e avarizia sono le tre faville che hanno i cuori accesi. Qui puose fino al lagrimabil suono e io a lui, ancor vo che mi insegni e che di più parlar mi facci dono. So he says to me, tell me what's going to happen to all these other people here. So now all these people, I can't explain it here, you have to look it up. Farinata è il tegliaio che forsi degni, Jacopo Rusticucci, Arrigo e il Mosca e gli altri che a ben far posero gli ingegni. Dimmi ove sono e fa che io li conosca. So what happened to all these people here? Che grandi sia mi stringe di sapere se il cielo li addolcia o lo inferno li attosca o hell. So what are these people? Did they go into paradise or are they being tormented here in hell? E quelli a me. And Ciacco replies, Ehi, son tra le anime più nere. They were very naughty people, these people. Diverse colpe più li grava al fondo. Se tanto scendi là, li potrai vedere. So if you go down, you'll be able to see them because they committed even worse than me. Ma quando tu sarai nel dolce mondo, when you come back, priegoto che la mente altrui mi rechi, più non ti dico e più non ti rispondo. Please remember me. Oh, Chuck wants to be remembered by his mates when he's dead, because now he's in hell. So, and that's what we all hope for. Wherever we go afterwards, we want to be remembered. That's how we live. And Dante's still alive today because, you know, especially now, TomPadula is talking about him. How many people talk about me in the world? Whereas this guy here is in all the universities where Italian is taught, in Italy, everywhere. He's unbelievable. Li diritti occhi torsi allora in biechi, so he looked the other way, Ciacco, guardòmi un poco e poi chinò la testa e cadde con essa a par degli altri ciechi. So Ciacco went back onto the ground and, you know, along with the rest. E il duca disse a me, and Virgilio said, più non si desta di qua dal suon dell'angelica tromba, quando verrà la nemica podestà. Ciascuno rivederà la trista tomba, ripiglierà sua carne e sua figura, udirà quel che in eterno rimbomba. Well, il personaggio di Giacomo non è mai stato identificato con certezza, ma è un cittadino di Firenze che Dante evidentemente conosceva di persona. There's another one here. Dante vuole sapere quale destino attende la città di Firenze lacerata dai conflitti interni. E Ciacco risponde con una profezia. Dopo la definitiva cacciata dai ghibellini, i Guelfi si erano a loro volta divisi in due fazioni. So, this is the history part, etc., etc. So he says, well, but Virgilio talks about what's going to happen to these souls when la podestà, when, you know, when the end of the world comes and all the souls are brought together and each one will go back to their bodies and they will be punished accordingly with their bodies in eternity. Si trapassammo per sozza mistura dell'ombra e della pioggia a passi lenti, toccando un poco la vita futura. So they went through the pigsty ground, you know, very slowly. That's what happens. Perché io dissi, and so Dante asked, Maestro, esti tormenti cresceranno dopo la gran sentenza, o fier minori o saranno sì cocenti? So will these people here suffer in the same way as they do now, or will it be even worse when they come? Well, ed egli a me, ritorna a tua scienza, che vuol, quando la cosa è più perfetta, più senta il bene e così la doglienza. So go back to your, ritorna a tua scienza, go back to your story, okay? Che vuol, quando la cosa è più perfetta. So you gotta wait now until you get to know both the good and the doglianza, il dolore, the pain. So I can't give you the answer, he says. Tutto che questa gente maledetta, in vera perfezione, giammai non vada, di là più che di qua essere aspetta. So all these people here eventually will be judged. Noi aggirammo a tondo quella strada, parlando più assai che non ridico. So we continued on our journey downwards towards the fourth circle of hell. And here we're going to meet another of those famous devils, Dante's devils. Venimmo al punto dove si digrada. So we came to the point where you go down. Qui vi trovammo, here's our friend, Pluto, il gran nemico. And that's the end, I think that's the end of the chapter. That's it, of the Canto. So they've gone through the pigsty, part of hell. The people suffer from gluttony and other sins to do with the good life when you are well off and you can afford it, etc., etc. You've got to watch, you've got to keep your feet onto the ground, you've got to keep yourself pure, because don't forget, Dante is interested in this, not just as sins. He wants people then to think about how to live life in the present so that they can go to paradise. That's the idea. You explain the sin so that you know what the sin is and you know what to do with it in order to get out of it. You know, incredible. I'm doing the cantos now a little bit earlier because, you know, he's starting to understand. And if you had the Inferno and you followed what I'm saying, you too would be able to read Dante Alighieri. It's quite easy, but as I said, there's more to it than meets the eye. In terms of Dante, one has to remember that he was, first of all, he was one of, you know, in a political sense, he was an important man in his time from around 1295 to 1300, 1301. In Florence, so he was, you know, like Daniel Andrews, you know, sort of, you know, people in politics here in this city here. We all know who he is. So that's Dante was known there because he had power, but with politics comes also the opposition, and let's not forget in the past they weren't as kind as we are in modern times. They chopped heads, they had swords, they used violence in a very violent way. And Dante, even though he was married with children, they put him out to pasture for the rest of his life. He was never able to go back to Florence, and he died in Ravenna. And now the Firenze has been trying to get these ashes, but obviously, you know, if you sei esiliato, if you are exiled, then maybe you shouldn't return to your to the place that you know, that got rid of you. For example, this is a reflection on our migration. I migrated with my mum, my parents. My father came in a lot earlier than 9 years earlier. We joined him, 4 sisters, me and later. Now I've been in Australia now for the best part, most of my life. So am I Italian? How much of Italy is there in me now? and how much of me there is here? Now, these are questions, of our life. So therefore, if he's trying to explain who you are and where you should be and what you can write, like Dante makes you reflect, makes us reflect on where we are today and why, and what makes us who we are today, our experiences. A lot of people of Italian background don't speak the language. We went to school here. They didn't start with English. They ended up with English. Their Italian's not. So in other words, the people of the first generation who came to Australia, they knew about Dante, but they, nel mezzo del cammin di nostra vita mi ritrovai per una selva oscura, and that's it. But if you want to really get to know about Italy, you have to know its wonderful literature. And on that note, I'm going to stop here with Canto 6. We'll be doing Canto 7 next Sunday. If you get a copy of Dante, of the Inferno, please, have it, read it, and go to my chapters. As I said, in insegna.com, I can't put them up straight away, but I will. I will put all these there in insegna.com, one after the other. So there now, if you go to insegna.com, to the blog, you've got Canto 1 to 4 up there, and my first history lesson. So, and that's world history, and it's going to develop. It's going to get interesting. So if you follow each week and ask, this is a study, let's face it. And it's great fun for people in the third age. Let me see now. I'm going to give you I'm going to introduce four poets from Italian literature. And they are. The first one is Ada Negri. I'm not going to talk about her now, but I'm going to read you one of her poems. It's called Nevicata. Sui campi e sulle strade, silenziosa e lieve, volteggiando la neve cade. Danza la falda bianca nell'ampio ciel scherzosa, poi sul terren si posa, stanca. In mille immote forme, sui tetti e sui camini, sui cippi e nei giardini dorme. Tutto d'intorno è pace, chiuso in oblio profondo, indifferente il mondo tace. Nevicata, un nuovo miracolo della natura, nevica, la nevica che fino ad oggi poteva sembrare un privilegio dei monti, scende lieve sulla pianura silenziosa. Pian piano tutto si trasforma, i contorni delle cose si fanno più morbidi e dolci, l'aria è ferma, immobile, anche le voci si sono fatte lontane, quasi perdute. Un immenso immacolato lenzuolo si stende sul mondo assopito. Again, these are poems that can be learned. This one here, we're talking about last century, okay? This one here is from Giosuè Carducci, like Pascoli, is one of the three great ones. Giosuè Carducci, Pascoli, and Gabriele D'Annunzio. Interesting character as well. Pianto Antico. This is one of, everyone who's done Italian schools would have learned this off by heart. L'albero a cui tendevi la pargoletta mano, il verde melograno dai bei vermigli fior. Nel muto orto solingo rinverdì tutto orora e giugno lo ristora di luce e di calor. Tu, fior della mia pianta, percossa inaridita, tu dell'inutil vita estremo unico fior. Sei nella terra fredda, sei nella terra negra, né il sol più ti rallegra, né ti risveglia amor. This one, Pianto Antico. antico come la vita e il pianto dei genitori sulla tomba del figlio. Carducci lost his 3-year-old son. Qui la compostezza e la semplicità dell'accorato lamento rivelano un dolore placato dopo il suo tumultuoso insorgere, ma rimasto perennemente vivo nella sua repressa violenza e compagno di ogni ora della vita. Again, notice when I speak a language that is very understandable. But the Italians, when you read literature, you've got to get used to the language, because è molto colorita la lingua letteraria italiana. Non è un italiano facile da comprendere. Si devono appartare, come i grandi cantanti, eccetera. L'opera. It's in the spirit of the Italians, a bit of competition there. This one here is from Leonardo Sinisgalli, mio paesano, one of the great people from Montemurro, and they have, they're sort of appreciating him now and attracting quite a few people to Montemurro, the town where I come from, because of this person here, Leonardo Sinisgalli, and he wrote a poem called Monete Rosse. It's famous, and there's una lapida in Montemurro where this poem has been written on the actual stone. And it says something like this, but the language is much easier this time. I fanciulli battono le monete rosse contro il muro, cadono distanti per terra con dolce rumore. Gridano a squarciagola in un fuoco di guerra. So, have you ever played with money against the wall? I used to. Si scambiano motti superbi e dolcissime ingiurie. La sera incendia le fronti, infuria i capelli. Sulle selci calde e come sangue, il piazzale torna calmo. Una moneta battuta si posa vicino all'altra alla misura di un palmo. So they're going to work it out which one is closer. Il fanciullo preme sulla terra la sua mano vittoriosa. The man is mine. Good one, good one. Last one is another beautiful little poem, and that's it for... this one is from Aldo Palazzeschi, and I'll be introducing a lot of these poets and writers of Italy. Again, you can look them up on, the Dr. Google. That's where you get all this. This one here, Riobò. 3 casettine dai tetti aguzzi, un verde praticello, un esiguo ruscello, Riobò. Un vigile cipresso, microscopico paese, è vero, paese da nulla, ma però c'è sempre di sopra una stella, una grande, magnifica stella, che a un dipresso occhieggia con la punta del cipresso di Riobò. Una stella innamorata, chissà se nemmeno ce l'ha una grande città. So this is a very microscopic little town. Well, again, but all these little poems here, there's a lot of explanation they need in order for you to understand them all. You need someone to actually point things out. Whereas when you read my poetry, you understand it straight away. You know why? Because I write here in Australia, away from Italy, and therefore my the Italian that I express is like my English. In other words, English has had a big influence on my Italian, because we simplify language. English is a language that is very practical in many ways. You understand straight away what people are saying. Whereas in Italy, it's not the case, because people speak in dialect, in the local language. We call them dialects, local language. They're actual languages, a bit different. So, la lingua italiana è una lingua costruita dalla grammatica. So, if you want to speak it really well, and you should, then that's what happens. Now, we need some entertainment there. What I'm actually doing now, I'm condensing the actual sections within the hour. So the next one is one that you will enjoy. So I'm going to combine that with my poetry, which is here, and then we'll do a little bit. Now this is where we come to TomPadula, okay? The first one, I'm going to do, the first one I'm going to, where do I go? Where do I go? Well, let me check it. 253. Here we go. Come on, Tom. Let's entertain. This song here is called Viper. Lyrics. It was sung by Sergio Mauri and also Aurelio Fierro. But I want to try this particular song because the words themselves is what a story it is. Again, this one here can be sung, almost like reading the song. So I'm going to try it. And Dora, of course, has never seen it before, or she has heard it but hasn't really played it. So I'm just going to give you the words, and well, they can join in whenever they want. Here we go. Vipera. Ella portava un braccialetto strano, una vipera d'oro attorcigliata, che viscida apparea sotto la mano, viscida e viva quando l'ho toccata, quando ella abbandonavasi fremendo sul mio seno, parea schizzasse tutto il suo veleno. Vipera, vipera, sul braccio di colei, oggi distrugge tutti i sogni miei. Sembravi un simbolo, l'atroce simbolo della sua malvagità. Mamma che quando sogna, sogna il vero, ha sognato di me la notte scorsa, m'ha visto per un ripido sentiero, presso una malavipera era accorsa, e si è svegliata pallida, gridando per terrore, la vipera m'aveva già morso il cuore. Vipera, vipera, sul braccio di colei, qu'oggi distrugge tutti i sogni miei. Sembravi un simbolo, l'atroce simbolo della sua malvagità. Per non amarla più vuoi andar lontano, ma lontano non posso rimanere, e vuoi il suo bacio che mi rende insano, la sua perfidia che mi fa piacere, e quando mi divincolo, ribello a questo amore, qualcosa mi si annoda in fondo al cuore. Vipera, vipera, sei tu colei, qu'oggi ha distrutto tutti i sogni miei. Era il tuo simbolo, l'atroce simbolo della tua malvagità. Wow, Vipera, it's a good song, really is. It's I loved it because the words are so powerful. And now I'm going to read you one of my poems from Amica Poesia, from this one. And again, these books are available from Insegno. Okay, consiglio. Consiglio is counsel. And these are translated into English, so there's an English version and there's an Italian version. And here we go, consiglio. Mi disse, scrivi quando sei contento, le tue poesie sono un po' tristi. Gli risposi, uno scrittore tende a scrivere quando è un po' giù di morale. Però il mio amico aveva ragione, tanto la felicità è da coltivare quanto il dolore e la tristezza. Le emozioni sono tante, negative e positive, e tu, poeta, dovresti conoscerle un po' tutte, specialmente perché si va dall'alto in basso a secondo come ci sentiamo. Scrivi quando sei fuori a vedere posti e persone nuove. Scrivi sull'amicizia e i tanti individui che ti vogliono bene. Scrivi dei tuoi successi e delle tue soddisfazioni, quando hai fatto una buona azione. Scrivi di coloro che ti fanno piacere e di quelli che sono veramente buoni. Scrivi un po' ogni giorno, ovunque ti trovi. Dai questo tuo dono alla vita, scrivi sul tempo e le cose, sui fatti di tutti. Non discriminare, includi gli uomini e le donne, i bambini e gli anziani, gli animali e la natura e poi tanto, tanto di più. Apprezza il positivo e dona il tuo ottimismo come un bocciolo di fiore. So you can see the language there is very different from the one that we've had, that we've got from the previous literati from Italy from last century. And here we go again. Now this time here, we're going to get to Firenze. Here we go. The next song is Firenze Sogna. Of course, Firenze is such an important cultural Italian city. And, we've only got a mandolin here. And Divina, of course, we haven't sung this before, but we're going to try it. And you can do the same too. There, when you are learning Italian, the words are beautiful. And it's fantastic to, get to know Italian lyrics of popular songs. This one here was popular and remains popular because it's about Firenze. So let's start. Firenze Sogna. Firenze, stanotte sei bella in un manto di stelle che in cielo risplende. Nell'ombra nascondi gli amanti, le bocche trementi si parlan d'amore. Intorno c'è tanta poesia, perché vita mia sospira il mio cuore. Sull'arno d'argento si specchia il firmamento, mentre un sospiro, un canto si perde lontano. Dorme Firenze sotto il raggio della luna, ma dietro ad un balcone veglia una Madonna bruna. Balconi adornati di lampi e gricini in fiore. Stanotte schiudete il vento che passa l'amore. Germogliano le serenate, Madonna ascoltate, son mille canzoni. Il vostro sorriso è la vita, la gioia infinita, l'eterna passione. Sull'arno d'argento si specchia il firmamento, mentre un sorriso, un canto si perde lontano. Dorme Firenze sotto il raggio della luna, ma dietro ad un balcone veglia una Madonna bruna. Sopra i lungani senti un'armonia d'amore, sospirano gli amanti, stretti, stretti, cuore a cuore. Well, Firenze Sogna. Look, the lyrics are available to you by going online, and if you just key in Firenze Sogna on Chrome or Google, you'll get it. And once you've got the words, you can actually learn, and we can follow our friend Stephen Ross Ferraro when he plays these songs, on his nights. So and not just Stephen, but there are a lot of other people too who are now, playing the songs. And one of the beautiful things about Melbourne, about this pandemic, if you like, is that we've learned now, most of us are becoming more, in tune with the technology, so online. So it's very important to have a good phone. I have an iPhone 11, you know, and I try to provide some guidance that people don't know. I mean, I know very little about technology, and I've asked Stephen too, how do you do it, this and that. So, you know, you've got to just be patient. Patience is the key to the future of these things. So, if you know, you're never too old. You're never too old to learn, never too young to learn. Learning is up to the last moment, and then we're going to find out even more afterwards. Okay, now this one here is called La Fantasia Mia. La Fantasia Mia. It's one of my poems again. And this is about inspiration. That's the chapter on inspiration. Un giorno sì lontano nel passato, con i ragazzi della mia fanciullezza, ricordo aver avuto un caro amico che sempre accanto a me si divertiva, fedele ai miei sogni di bambino. Quest'era la fantasia che, instancabile, abbelliva i giorni miei con visioni eterne d'un mondo più felice, ove l'universo, le stelle ed anche Dio si toccavano per mano in compagnia, e dove c'era, in una valle fiorita tra i monti, una grande moltitudine di gente che, accompagnata dalla melodia divina, cantava e ballava allegramente nella felicità più assoluta. Ora son cresciuto, però il mio compagno più fedele lo trovo ancor vicino il giorno intero, ed è per questo che adesso, quando sono solo, in tempi di tristezza e di allegria, mi fermo d'incanto a fissare il vuoto e chiudo gli occhi e cerco altro nella mente, perché le cose umane non mi vanno quando ho in testa un mondo più felice ed attraente. You love that one. Okay. Well, as I said, I was going to mix my poetry with what I do online, and you know, I think it's going to work out well here. The last one that I'm going to do now of the songs is this one here, and we've got time, which is great, and you know, enjoy. I was just about to leave when Elio Cassano, we've sung before, and I thought this is a great opportunity to do it again. And we've sung, well, one of the songs that is very popular from World War I is called O Soldato Innamorato. So let's see what we can do. D'ora comincia. Let's do the last bit. Scriva sempre sta
nuovo pensiero ne consola, tu pensa solamente a me. Ah, più bella e più bella, non è mai più bella di te. Oh, vita mia, oh, il cuore che stupora, sei stata, oh, prima amore, oh, prima l'ultima sarai per me. Oh, vita mia, oh, il cuore che stupora, sei stata, oh, prima amore, oh, prima l'ultima sarai per me. Let me explain, and before we finish, what Elliot did just then, he cut the last bit of the song, which is what they used to do with Angelo before. No, it's not your fault, it's the musicians. All musicians don't respect the lyrics. This is a great example. This is a great example of what can happen. Thank you very much. Enjoy the song. I hope you did a good job.
Oh, well, that was, you know, I was criticised for that because our singing wasn't. But Elliot just came through the door, and at last minute I said, before I go, because I was going and he was coming, I said, let's do something, and we did it. So it's all in good fun. Anyway, before I go, I wanted to also give you something from the theatre, La Commedia. This is a book that I use, Commedia per principianti. It's a book relating to learning Italian. So, you know, if you're interested in learning Italian, contact me, and there's a lot of material that I have. Apart from that, you know, I really love people to learn Italian properly and have it as a good second language, third language, whatever. It's never, you know, it's good. It keeps your brains active. Anyway, this one is called La Colacione. How many people are there involved? Here there's Mamma, Papa, Mamma and Anna. Okay, so Mamma, Mario, svegliati, è tardi. Papa, very tired and sleepy. Come? Dove? Perché? È il caffè. Mamma, il caffè è sul tavolo, alzati. Papa, prima vado in bagno. Mario gets up and goes to the bathroom. He tries to open the door. Anna screams, ah, un momento! Papà, still half asleep. Cosa? Come? Chi è? Sono io, papà. Chiudi la porta. Ah, Anna, ma tu sei sempre in bagno. Non è vero, papà. Allora esci. Vengo subito. Father goes to the kitchen. Papà, allora bevo il caffè. He sits and drinks it, but soon spits it out. Poi, che caffè terribile. È amaro, non c'è lo zucchero. Bevilo amaro, così ti svegli meglio. Ecco lo zucchero. Cosa? Come? Dove? Papà, non vedi? È nel barattolo. Ah sì, grazie. Cosa c'è nel barattolo? Lo zucchero, papà. E dov'è il barattolo? Lo hai sotto il naso, Mario. Ah sì, grazie, cara. He turns to get it, but manages to spill his coffee on the ground at the same time. Il caffè sul pavimento, says Anna. Papà, dove? Mamma, non importa, caro, ecco un'altra tazza di caffè. Grazie, cara, dice papà, ma non c'è lo zucchero. Mamma, si ricomincia. So this is a little sketch that children can play. You know, can learn, and even adults, if you're learning Italian, sketches are the best way of getting you speaking in Italian, because you don't have to create the conversation. It's already there. It's already there. And, well, you know what? I've managed to really fit in all of what I wanted to do tonight, because I said to myself, you know, let's do a bit of this, a bit of that. But I've condensed it because I needed to work it with all my notes, my computer. There's a lot to do here, but it seems as if, I hope somebody tells me whether it's going okay, whether you're enjoying it. It's hard for an hour for you, but it's okay for me. But you don't have to watch it all in one go. You can come on for the bits that you want, and if you go to Facebook, to my page, and you select this particular program, there is a little knob there that, you know, you can go ahead and back as you please. So select the bits that are good for your learning. So let's not forget that this is educational in nature primarily. That's what I do. So on that note, it's 8:30. I want to wish you all a very good night. Grazie mille for those people who came on. I appreciate your support. Let other people know, of course. And on that note, arrivederci alla prossima volta. Ciao da Tom Padula and TomPadulaTV. Ciao ciao.